Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this beautiful, beautiful Sunday morning, and happy Mother's Day. Um, we're going to be having a special service here at the Father's house for Mother's Day to celebrate all women, all mothers, all women who have mothers, all people who have mothers. And as Pastor Mario reminded me, some fathers play the role of mothers too. So we're gonna celebrate them also. Anyway, it's a beautiful day outside. I hope you guys get a chance to go out and enjoy the sunshine. We'd love to have you join us at the Father's house. We're going to have a special surprise after service, so that would be great too. But if not, just enjoy your day. Our men's group is meeting Monday night at 6:30 here at the Father's house and on Zoom. They're going to go through the book, The Magnificent Story, that the ladies group has started already, and I know they're going to enjoy it. I know they're going to get a lot out of it. So the book should be here Monday before class, so Pastor Carl will be bringing those for you if you've ordered one. If not, you can go to Amazon and order one. Our ladies group Thursday night 6:30 on Zoom. As like I said, we're going through the magnificent story, and it's a beautiful, beautiful story of Jesus and what he's done for us. So I think we had a great meeting on Thursday last week. We actually went over about 25 minutes because everybody just had something to share. And when you talk about Jesus, I think there's a lot to share. Anyway, today is our regular tithes and offerings. Oh no, it's capital improvements week. So you know the drill. You can go to thefathershouse.org, click on the giving button. There is a drop down for capital improvements also. So that helps us take care of the building here at the Father's house. So you can give to our missions that way also. I know Pastor Juan and Pastor Patricia would greatly appreciate anything that you give to the Argentina group. You can mail a check to the Father's house at 133 Bernal Road, San Jose, California, 95119. Or you can do like my friend Berta does and bring it and put it in the mailbox, which was a beautiful little gift. She usually puts a note in there for me, so I appreciate that. Shout out to you, Berta, Dennis Rothenberg. Or if you live in the local area and you'd like Pastor Carl and I to come by and pick it up, we'd be happy to do that. Again, thank you for your generosity and your continual giving to the Father's house. We greatly appreciate it. I think that's really all I have to go over today, so we'll turn the time over to Pastor Carl.
Well, good morning, Father's house. Glad to have you with us today. Happy Mother's Day weekend to all of you. I trust that you're going to do something special with your mother if she's still alive, or maybe honor her if she's passed, and also maybe if you are a mother, or it's what Penny kind of talked about. So anyway, happy Mother's Day for most of you that will be viewing this on Sunday, although we recorded on Saturday. That's why I said weekend. But anyway, we're glad to be here. We're glad you're here, partaking of this video that we're doing, and we're just excited for all that God's doing in the wonderful ways with people's lives and changing them, as God's always active, involved in people's life. And so I'm kind of excited about the men getting back on. We had taken a break after we got done with our last book and then starting this new book that Penny talked about, The Magnificent Story, which I think is going to be very special. So men, if you want to come and be a part of that, we would love to have you. We're going to kick it off again, as I said, this Monday, which will be tomorrow if you're watching this on Sunday. And we'll be serving a meal along with that so people will be able to eat. So that's about it as far as that goes. But I do want to talk about today something very special. I want to talk about Jesus. But Jesus is always special when we talk about him, and can really put a smile on our face, can't he? The other thing that I want to talk about, though, is I want to talk about it in particular as it has to do with Mother's Day and with honoring our mother. Or mothers, for those of us that might have stepmothers, whatever the case might be. So today I want to talk a little bit about Jesus and what happened with him and Mary on the first encounter in the book of John and the first miracle that Jesus did. Do you remember what it was? You're right. It was the wedding in Cana, where he turned the water to wine. So I think I'll just go ahead and read the narrative, and then maybe we can talk a little bit about it. How does that work for you? It works for me. Okay, it says, on the third day, so the first day he was baptized in this chronology. Second day he gathered his disciples, and on the third day we find him hanging out at this wedding with his mother and with his disciples. And there's some theological statements that are made in here that we're not going to cover because we're going to look at it through the eyes of motherhood rather than some other things that are being suggested in here. And it says, on the third day, there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. And both Jesus and his disciples were invited to the wedding. When the wine ran out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what does that have to do with us? My hour is not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Whatever he says to you, do it." Now there were 6 stone water pots set there for the Jewish custom of purification, containing 20 to 30 gallons each. So that would be between 120 and 180 gallons. And Jesus said to them, "Fill the water pots with water." So they filled them up to the brim. And he said to them, "Draw some out now and take it to the head waiter." So they took it to him. When the head waiter tasted the water, which had become wine, and did not know where it came from, but the servants who had drawn the water knew, the head waiter called the bridegroom, and he said to him, "Every man serves the good wine first, and when the people have drunk freely, then he serves the poorer wine. But you have kept the good wine until now." This beginning of all of his signs Jesus did in Cana of Galilee, and manifested his glory, and his disciples believed in him. That's quite a story. And I have a smile on my face because I really love what I think that this story indicates when we're talking about mothers and about honoring mothers. So the first thing I want to say is that I love in the book of John the way that John pulls out the feminine side of Christ, his high regard for women, and that sometimes is lost in maybe some of the other writers, like such as Paul, although I would argue that Paul does have a high regard for women, it sometimes doesn't come across that way. But I want to tell you that in the book of John, his high regard for women comes across. Not only that, his high regard for his mother. And you've got to think about it in light of when we talk about the Decalogue or the 10 Commandments, which are synonymous. In the Decalogue, there's that command that we're to honor our mother and our father. Well, if you think about it, Jesus honored his father, and we know that because his father was God. But what we're seeing here now is in the fulfillment of all the law, we're seeing in Christ, we're seeing him honoring his mother. Now, people want to make a big stink about it and make other theological points about it, but I think there's a pretty sound theological point to make concerning that. Honoring your father as he did and honoring your mother. Now, sometimes in the evangelical circles and Protestant circles, we get all upset because the Orthodox Church, Greek Orthodox, and really I just want to say the Eastern Orthodox Church, because there's many renditions of that, and the Roman Catholic Church put too much emphasis on Mary. And so we're always talking and we're always belittling this idea of the place of Mary in those religions. But I want to tell you that what we've done is we've just thrown her out, haven't we? We've just taken the concept and the idea of this beautiful person, and we've just kind of said, well, we don't want to deal with her. We just want to deal with Jesus only. And so then we go ahead and criticize maybe what we don't even understand about other faith traditions in them honoring, now if you think about this, the mother of Jesus and the mother of God. So remember that in Jesus, he was both divine and he was human. And so when this hypostasis, or this one unity of Jesus, which would be the hypostasis, kind of a big word, I know, that what there is there's this unity where God is married to human flesh. And there's a humanity of Jesus, and then there's this divinity that was within the person of Jesus Christ. Well, within that then, there's some things that you really have to think about Mary. I mean, I don't think that God, when he chose Mary to be the bearer of his son, that he'd said, any woman will do. Let's just go find some kind of a woman and do it. I think that there was a specific type of person that God would ask to bear his son. And so it's almost like when we pick a husband or we pick a wife, it's like we don't just go, well, just any woman will do. You fall in love, you select a woman or you select a man based on different criteria, right? So you're not attracted in some ways to one and to the other as you are to maybe another person. And so the idea that the selection of Mary from God was very profound. And the thing about it is that he didn't coerce her saying, you're going to do this. He asked her permission to do it. And she ultimately said, may it be done to you according to your will. As she said yes to what God wanted her to do on behalf of what he wanted to do through the birth of Jesus and the redemption of the cosmos. Kind of a big thought when you think about it. You think about how big Mary is in this whole scene. Yeah, we want to kind of throw her out, but I don't think it's easily dismissed because of the honoring of your parents, and also the idea that she was selected by God personally to do this, and that she submitted to the divine will, knowing what was going to come with it, and she said yes to God. God said, then by decree, I'm going to do it in you, Mary. I'm going to do it. And then there's this psalm of praise that she sings back to. She sings back to the Father concerning this notion of what God wants to do through her and through her Son. But now Jesus is grown, and Jesus is baptized, and he's launching his ministry. And so Jesus comes along, and they go to meet. They meet his mother at a wedding, and the wine runs out. And as the wine runs out, she kind of looks at Jesus, and she looks at Jesus and says, "Jesus, they're out of wine." Jesus looks at her and says, "Woman, what is it that you want from me? What have I got to do with this?" And she said. And he said, it's not my time. It's not my hour yet. And she kind of looked at him and really she kind of launched his miracle ministry. And she said, yeah, it's time. And think about that. So we always think about, and I was reading a commentary that says, well, it just shows you where Mary was really submitted to Jesus and all this stuff. It's like hogwash. The fact of the matter is his mother asked him to do something that he didn't want to necessarily do. It's almost like saying, Jesus, I want you to go, it's been a long time since you've cleaned your room. I want you to go clean your room. And he said, yes, mother, I'll do it. And so Mary comes along in the supernatural way and probably under the unction and by the direction of the Father. And she looks at her son and says, it is time. And he, woman, what do you want me to do? It's not my time. And Mary's kind of thinking in her mind, yeah, it is time. And you can almost hear the Father saying, well, son, you better listen to your mother. So it's this beautiful scene. And so Mary looks at the service and says, you know what? Forget what his resistance here. Whatever he tells you to do, please do it. So Jesus says, all right, Mom, you asked for it. I guess I'll do it. And so there's these water pots that they use for the ceremonial washing of hands and for cleansing and such. And Jesus looks and says, well, there's 6 of them, and there were between 20 and 30 gallons, so you're talking about a lot of wine here. And he says, fill the pots. Well, now the servers are kind of looking at this, and they're kind of saying, well, this ought to be good. We're not going to just fill them, but let's fill them to the brim, baby, and see what we get out of this. Maybe we'll get some wine to take home after the party. And so they bring and lay them there, and Jesus blesses them, and he literally turns the water into wine. But in turning the water to the wine, he takes it to the head waiter. The head waiter tastes, goes, oh my gosh. And he goes to the bridegroom and says, I can't believe this. And the idea was, when people at a wedding, yeah, you're going to serve the most expensive wine first. And then when people are a little bit tipsy, after they've eaten, after they're not really caring that much, well, then you can bring out the cheaper wine. But you've done the opposite. You brought out the best wine last. And not only that, you brought it with super abundance. It wasn't like Jesus said, well, okay, give me 1 pot because, gosh, I don't want all these people to have a good time. And I don't want to, I don't want them to get drunk and spoil the party. And, it was nothing like that. He simply, out of the superabundance of who he was, and at the request of his mother, those that were filled to the brim, between 120 and 180 gallons, were filled so that people could continue in rejoicing in this marriage of these 2 people that were wedded that day. The beautiful part about that story is the fact that Jesus honored his mother. That when he said he wasn't ready, and his mother said, yes, you are ready, that he says, Mom, I'm going to do it for you because I love you and because you're that special to me. And by the way, I'm just telling you right now that, if father is mad about this, if my father is mad about this, then I'm going to tell you, he's going to have to take it up with you. But okay, I'll do it. And the father wasn't. The father wasn't mad about it. As a matter of fact, God blessed it, or he wouldn't have allowed it to be done. And so in this agreement between the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit and the mother of Jesus, Jesus said yes to Mary. I think that there's such a lesson in that of understanding that as we grow older and in all of our lives and even with young people, the place of honor that we should give to our mother and the place of respect that we should give to her and to our Father, because God's through us and through procreation that God has caused us to come into being through them. So this day when we think about the birth of Jesus, or about the life of Jesus, and we think about all that happened with him, that this first miracle recorded in John was at the insistence of his mother. And he did and had high regard for his mother. I guess the question today is how can you remember your mother today? Can you call her on the phone if she's still alive? Maybe visit her grave. Maybe go and spend some time just in prayer, thinking about it if she's not around anymore, and thanking God, thanking her for the wonderful life that you've had. Mothers are special. There's no doubt about it. And I hope that today that you will say, and all of us have a mother, that you'll say thank you to your mother, or thank you to your stepmother in any way you see fit. I don't really have much more to say about that, other than I love this story, because I love the fact that we want to make Jesus this, he's in the command, he does what he's going to do and what the Father does. And yet when his earthly mother says, son, it is your time, and I want you to do this for the people. He doesn't just do it reluctantly. He doesn't do it in a meager way, but out of superabundance of God, he satisfies the request of his mother. I hope today that you'll spend some time contemplating your mother. And if you are a mother, of rejoicing in your children coming to you with a thankful heart. I hope this touches you today and makes you think differently about it. God bless you. Have a great day. And I'll see you either tomorrow in church or next week here on